Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into something that affects millions. Osteoarthritis pain.
Oh, yeah. OA. It's a big one.
It is. We got some excerpts from Masterful Care of the Aging Athlete, and Chapter 7 is like a gold mine, all about injectables, biologics, stem cells, the whole shebang for managing OA pain.
Yeah.
But we want to go deeper than just what the treatments are.
Absolutely.
We want to understand how they work, like on a deeper level,
It's like having the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah.
Right. That chapter, it goes beyond just a list of options. You really delve into the science behind it all.
Exactly. So let's unpack this. And I think a good place to start is with pain. I mean, we tend to think it's all about that initial injury, right?
Yes.
You twist your knee playing basketball and boom, years later, it's osteoarthritis. But this chapter is saying that's only part of the story.
Yeah, that initial injury, it's like setting off a chain reaction, really. You've got these cartilage cells, the chondrocytes.
Chondrocytes, right.
Yeah, they're usually just hanging out, quiet. But then, bam, injury happens. They become super active, releasing all these inflammatory molecules. It's like they're sounding the alarm.
So it's not just the wear and tear, it's our body's reaction to it that keeps the pain going.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. This chronic inflammation, it actually changes the environment inside our joints. Think about it. Your nerves become hypersensitive.
Oh.
Like a microphone with the volume cranked way up.
Ooh, I don't like that.
Right. Suddenly, even minor movements can trigger serious pain.
Wow. So it's like our body is working against us in a way.
Yeah, it's a bit of a double-edged sword.
Okay, so before we jump into the high-tech stuff, what about those first-line defenses?
Well, the chapter emphasizes conservative management. It's really important.
Okay.
Like laying the groundwork. You wouldn't build a house on shaky ground, right?
Makes sense.
So physical therapy, targeted stretches, strengthening exercises, they all create a more stable base.
But it doesn't always work miracles, right?
That's true.
I mean, I've heard mixed things about how effective physical therapy is long-term.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the American College of Rheumatology, their guidelines on OA management, they haven't been updated since 2012.
Oh, wow.
Makes you wonder, what has research uncovered since then?
Yeah, it definitely sparks some curiosity. Okay, so what happens when physical therapy isn't enough? Let's talk meds.
Okay.
The good, the bad, and maybe the controversial.
Sure. Well, let's start with the familiar. Acetaminophen.
Classic Tylenol.
Right, your classic Tylenol. Often the first line of defense. But the chapter points out it has its limitations, especially at higher doses.
Yeah, I've heard too much acetaminophen can be hard on the liver.
Yeah.
So what's next up the ladder?
NSAIDs, those non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like your ibuprofen or naproxen.
Got it.
They're effective, tackling both pain and inflammation. But there's a trade-off, right? Potential risks, especially in the stomach with long-term use.
Oh, yeah.
The chapter does mention COX-2 inhibitors as an alternative, maybe gentler on the gut.
So it's a balancing act.
Well,
Now, what about opioids? I know there's a lot of concern about using them for chronic pain these days.
you're right, and the chapter actually highlights a surprising contradiction.
Oh.
Tramadol, which is an opioid, is sometimes recommended for OA pain,
Really?
despite those concerns.
Hold on, why would they recommend an opioid if they're trying to avoid them?
This is where it gets fascinating.
Yeah.
The source suggests tramadol, when used with NSAIDs, might create a synergy. They work better together than either drug alone.
That's a new one for me. Shows how complex pain management can be. Now, I have to ask about two supplements I keep hearing about.
Yeah.
Chondroitin and glucosamine. Are they miracle workers or just hype?
Well, the science is a bit of a mixed bag, honestly. Some studies, they sing their praises. Others find no real benefit. The chapter suggests dosage and formulation seem to be key factors.
So is it worth trying them out?
Well, that's a conversation for you and your doctor, for sure.
Of course.
But it's important to note, the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, they don't currently recommend them for OA.
Because of the inconsistent results.
Exactly.
Okay, so not a slam dunk. Got it. Let's shift gears from pills and supplements to something a bit more direct injections.
Oh, yes.
Why would you inject something directly into the joint?
Well, think of it as a target and strike. The goal with most injectables is to deliver the treatment right to the source of inflammation, the heart of the problem.
Makes sense. So let's start with corticosteroids. Those cortisone shots.
Yeah.
I know people who swear by them, but I've also heard some scary things.
Yeah, you're right. Cortisone injections are very common for OA.
Yeah.
They work by suppressing inflammation right within the joint directly, giving almost instant relief.
Sounds fantastic, but there's got to be a downside, right?
Well, there is. While they're great for short-term relief, the long-term effects are still being debated. One of the biggest concerns is that repeated injections could actually damage the cartilage further.
Oh, no.
Speeding up that OA progression.
Yikes. That's a tough trade-off. Are all cortisone shots created equal? Or are there different types?
The chapter mentions different types of corticosteroids.
Okay.
Some designed to last longer. It's definitely worth discussing those specific types with your doctor, weighing the potential benefits and risks.
Now let's talk about an injectable option that sounds straight out of science fiction, viscosupplementation.
Ooh, yes.
Basically, you're injecting hyaluronic acid, a natural part of joint fluid, right into the joint. What's the logic behind that?
It's a two-pronged approach, really. First, you're replacing the hyaluronic acid that's been lost as that cartilage breaks down, trying to restore that lubrication and cushioning within the joint. But here's the intriguing part. Hyaluronic acid might also have its own anti-inflammatory effects.
So it's not just lubrication, it's potentially tackling the root cause as well.
Exactly.
What does the research say about how well this actually works?
Well, this is where the composition of the hyaluronic acid really matters.
Okay.
The chapter points out not all hyaluronic acid is created equal. Different preparations have varying molecular weights and viscosities.
Interesting.
And that seems to directly impact how well they work.
So is it as simple as saying bigger molecules, better results?
It's not quite that straightforward.
Okay.
Some research suggests higher molecular weight hyaluronic acid might be more effective. But more research is definitely needed there. What's interesting is studies show improvement in pain and function after viscosupplementation. But they don't always see improvement in gait or joint space narrowing.
So it might be relieving symptoms without actually slowing down the disease itself.
That's one interpretation, More research is needed to fully understand those long-term effects. Now, are you ready for something even more cutting edge?
Hit me with it.
Let's talk about platelet-rich plasma, or PRP. This one's truly fascinating because you're using your own blood to promote healing.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for me.
Picture this. We take a sample of your blood, concentrate the platelets, and then inject that platelet-rich plasma back into the affected joint.
And platelets are like those tiny first responders rushing to the scene of an injury, right?
They contain growth factors, these special proteins that stimulate tissue repair and regeneration.
Got it.
So by injecting a concentrated dose of platelets into the joint, we're basically giving your body's natural healing process a turbo boost.
Okay, so we're giving our body a helping hand. What does the research say about how well this actually works for OA?
Well, the chapter acknowledges that the exact mechanisms, they're still being studied. However, there's evidence suggesting that PRP can impact inflammation, cartilage growth, even the way our nerves transmit pain signals.
So multiple pathways to potentially reducing pain and promoting healing? Are there any downsides or things to be wary of with PRP?
Here's a crucial takeaway. The source emphasizes the variability in PRP preparation. Different techniques, protocols can lead to different concentrations of platelets and growth factors.
So it's not as simple as saying PRP works or PRP doesn't work.
Right.
The devil's in the details.
Precisely. And that's a recurring theme with these newer cutting-edge treatments. Finding ways to standardize procedures and ensure consistency is key for advancing the science and providing reliable options for folks. Now, are you ready to dive into the realm of truly futuristic treatments?
Bring on the future. I'm all ears.
Okay, let's talk about stem cell therapy for OA.
Stem cells? Those tiny building blocks with the potential to become any cell in the body.
It's pretty amazing.
It sounds almost too good to be true. Can they really regenerate cartilage and cure OA?
Well, the chapter acknowledges the huge potential there. But it's also clear that we're still in those early stages, It's like having this powerful tool, but we're still figuring out the best way to use it.
So what's the reality check here?
Well, early studies have shown some promising results. We need more long-term data. The FDA hasn't approved stem cell therapy for, widespread use in treating OA just yet.
Okay, so it's a proceed with cautious optimism situation.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
We need more research to understand the long-term safety and effectiveness.
Absolutely. But what's fascinating is that research is constantly pushing the boundaries here. We're learning about other types of cells that could be helpful too, like progenitor cells.
Progenitor cells?
Yeah, think of them as stem cells' slightly more specialized cousins.
Okay, so they're not as versatile as stem cells,
Right.
but they still have some regenerative potential.
Yes, and the research suggests certain types of progenitor cells might be particularly good at differentiating into chondrocytes.
Oh, right.
Those cartilage-building cells we talked about earlier.
So the idea is to inject these progenitor cells into the joint and hope they turn into a fresh batch of cartilage cells.
That's the hope. Some early animal studies have shown promising results. But as with any new treatment, we need more research to understand the long-term safety and effectiveness in humans. Now, are you ready to explore a completely different approach?
Always. What's next?
Let's talk about gene therapy for OA.
Gene therapy.
Yeah, it's a hot area of research. Might sound like something out of a science fiction movie, but it's based on a simple idea, really. Using genes to promote healing.
Genes, the blueprints of life. I'm all ears.
Imagine being able to deliver specific genes into the cells of the joint with the goal of either promoting cartilage repair or reducing inflammation.
Interesting.
It's like giving your cells a software update, you know, to make them function better.
Okay, let me try to wrap my head around this. So we're basically trying to reprogram the cells in the joint by giving them new genetic instruction.
You got it. For example, researchers are looking at ways to deliver genes that code for growth factors.
Oh, right.
Those proteins that stimulate tissue regeneration, or genes that block the production of inflammatory molecules.
So we're hacking into the body's own system
In a way.
and tweaking the code to promote healing. What are the challenges with this approach?
One of the biggest hurdles is finding a safe and effective way to deliver those genes into the target cells. You need a delivery system that can get the genes to the right place without causing any harm. And of course, we have to address those ethical concerns as well.
Ethical concerns. I can see how gene therapy could raise some red flags.
Yeah, gene therapy raises a lot of important ethical questions, especially when it comes to germline gene editing.
Right.
Which involves modifying genes that can be passed down to future generations.
That's a whole other can of worms.
Oh, it is. But for OA, the focus is on somatic gene therapy, which only targets the cells in the affected joint.
Okay, so it's a more localized, targeted approach.
Exactly. Doesn't affect the patient's germline.
That makes sense. Are there any clinical trials going on for gene therapy for OA?
Yes, a number of early-stage clinical trials are underway.
Okay.
But it's still too early to say whether gene therapy will live up to its potential.
Gotcha.
We need more data to determine its safety and long-term effectiveness. Now, let's talk about another area of research that might surprise you. Immunotherapy for OA.
Immunotherapy?
Yeah.
Isn't that something you'd use for cancer or autoimmune diseases? What's the connection to OA?
Well, remember how we talked about the immune system playing a key role in OA pain and inflammation? Well, immunotherapy aims to modulate that immune response, either by suppressing the overactive immune cells that are attacking the joint or by boosting the immune cells that help with tissue repair.
So we're not trying to wipe out the immune system entirely,
Right.
like with some cancer treatments,
Exactly.
but rather trying to rebalance it.
Yeah, think of it as fine-tuning the immune response to promote healing rather than destruction. It's a bit like conducting an orchestra, you know. You want all the instruments playing in harmony.
Okay, that's a great analogy. What are some of the specific types of immunotherapy being investigated for OOA?
One approach is using monoclonal antibodies.
Monoclonal antibodies, okay.
These are lab-created antibodies that target specific proteins involved in the inflammatory process.
I see.
For example, some monoclonal antibodies are being developed to block the activity of inflammatory cytokines, those signaling molecules that trigger inflammation.
So it's like sending in a targeted missile to disarm the inflammatory weapons.
That's a good way to put it. Another immunotherapy approach is using vaccines to train the immune system to tolerate cartilage proteins.
Vaccines for OA? That's interesting.
It is. The idea is that by exposing the immune system to these proteins in a controlled way, you can prevent it from mounting an attack against the joint.
So it's like desensitizing the immune system to cartilage.
Exactly.
So it doesn't see it as a threat.
Precisely. And there are other immunotherapies being explored too, like cell-based therapies that involve extracting and modifying immune cells to make them more effective at controlling inflammation.
The possibilities seem endless. What are some of the hurdles researchers face with developing these immunotherapies?
Well, one challenge is identifying the specific immune pathways that are most important in OA.
Right.
It's a complex disease, and the immune response can vary from person to person.
So finding the right immunotherapy is like finding a key for a specific lock.
Yeah.
It has to be a perfect match.
You got it. Another challenge is ensuring that these therapies are both safe and effective,
Right.
You don't want to suppress the immune system too much.
Doctors.
Because that could increase the risk of infections or other complications.
Right. It's all about finding that sweet spot, that delicate balance. Are there any clinical trials for immunotherapy for OA?
Yes. A number of clinical trials are underway in various phases of development, investigating different immunotherapy approaches.
It's an exciting area of research, and we're likely to see more advances in the coming years.
I think so, too.
Okay, so stay tuned. We've covered a lot of high-tech, futuristic treatments.
We have.
Now, let's bring things back down to earth a bit. What about the role of diet and nutrition in managing OA?
You're bringing up a crucial point. While we've been focusing on these cutting-edge interventions, lifestyle factors like diet play a significant role in managing OA.
I mean, we all know what we eat can impact inflammation through our bodies, right?
It's true. What we eat can directly impact inflammation.
So we're talking about the classic anti-inflammatory diet. Lots of fruits, veggies, omega-3s.
Exactly. There's strong evidence supporting the benefits of an anti-inflammatory diet for OA, focusing on whole foods, limiting processed foods, sugar, and saturated fats. Can help manage inflammation and potentially slow disease progression. It's like giving your body the right fuel to fight inflammation.
Makes sense. What about specific foods or nutrients that might be particularly helpful?
Some research suggests that foods rich in antioxidants, like berries and leafy greens, may be beneficial. Omega-3 fatty acids, found in fatty fish like salmon, can also help reduce inflammation. And there's some interesting research on the potential role of vitamin D in OA as well.
Vitamin D, isn't that important for bone health? What's the connection to OA?
Well, studies suggest vitamin D might have anti-inflammatory properties and could potentially play a role in cartilage health. But more research is needed to confirm those specific benefits for OA.
It seems like there's always more research to be done.
Always.
But it's great to know that something as simple as diet can make a difference.
It really can. And don't forget about maintaining a healthy weight, too.
Right.
Excess weight puts added stress on joints, which can worsen those OA symptoms.
Right. Every pound counts when it comes to joint health.
It does.
So it's not just about what we eat,
right,
but also how much.
Exactly.
Speaking of staying healthy, what about exercise? I know it can be tough when your joints hurt.
Yeah.
But I've heard it's actually good for OA in the long run.
That's absolutely true. While it might seem counterintuitive, exercise is one of the most important things you could do for OA. It's like a magic pill, but without the side effects.
Okay, but what kind of exercise? Surely not high-impact activities like running or jumping.
Well, it's all about finding the right type and intensity of exercise for your individual needs and abilities.
Right, of course.
Low-impact activities like swimming, cycling, walking, and gentle strength training are often recommended for people with OA.
So it's about keeping those joints moving without putting too much stress on them. What are the benefits of exercise for people with OA?
Exercise helps strengthen the muscles that support the joints, improves flexibility, and can actually reduce pain and stiffness, can also help with weight management, which, as we discussed, is crucial for joint health.
It's amazing how interconnected everything is. Diet, exercise, weight management.
I know, right?
They all play a role in OA management.
That's one of the key takeaways here. OA management is not just about treating symptoms. It's about taking a holistic approach that addresses all aspects of well-being. It's like weaving a tapestry, each thread contributing to the overall picture.
I love that analogy. So we've covered progenitor cell therapy, gene therapy, immunotherapy, diet, exercise. Is there anything else on the horizon for OA treatment?
Well, research is always exploring new possibilities, right?
Yeah.
For example, researchers are investigating the use of nanoparticles to deliver drugs or other therapeutic agents directly to the joint.
Nanoparticles.
Yeah. Imagine tiny robots delivering medicine precisely where it's needed.
Nanotechnology, that's incredible. What else is being explored?
There's growing interest in personalized medicine.
Yeah.
Tailoring treatments to an individual's unique genetic and molecular profile. It's like creating a custom-made suit perfectly fitted to your body.
Personalized medicine, that's fascinating. It seems like the possibilities are endless.
They truly are. And even things like virtual reality are being explored as tools for pain management and rehabilitation. Imagine immersing yourself in a virtual world where pain is reduced and movement is easier.
Virtual reality, that's mind-blowing. It sounds like the future of OA treatment is incredibly exciting.
It is.
With so many different avenues being explored.
It truly is an exciting time for OA research. And while there's no cure for OA yet, the future is filled with promise. The research happening right now is mind-blowing, and I truly believe that we're on the cusp of major breakthroughs in OA treatment and prevention.
That's an inspiring thought. What I find most encouraging is that researchers are tackling this problem from so many different angles. We have these cutting-edge, high-tech solutions, but also a renewed focus on those foundational lifestyle factors like diet and exercise. It's a truly holistic approach.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the ongoing efforts to understand the underlying mechanisms of OA.
Right.
The more we learn about how the disease works, the better equipped we'll be to develop effective treatments and hopefully one day a cure.
Well said. This has been an incredible journey so far. In part 3 of our deep dive, we'll bring it all together and discuss what this means for you, the listener, and how to navigate the often complex world of osteoarthritis treatment. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into osteoarthritis treatment. We've covered so much ground, from everyday pain relievers to some truly mind-boggling therapies on the horizon. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling hopeful, yet a bit overwhelmed by all the possibilities.
It's definitely a lot to process.
Yeah.
But that's exactly why we embarked on this deep dive, to empower you with knowledge so you can navigate the world of OA treatment with confidence.
Right. So let's shift gears from exploring all these treatments to what this all means for you, the listener. If you're dealing with OA pain, where do you even begin to make sense of all these options? It's like standing at a crossroads with many different paths leading forward. The key is to remember that OA treatment is a journey, not a destination.
A journey. I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So it's not about finding that one magic cure,
Right.
but rather a process of exploring different approaches, seeing what works for you, and adjusting along the way.
Precisely. And the first step on that journey is an open and honest conversation with your doctor.
Always a good starting point.
They can help you understand the specifics of your condition, the pros and cons of each treatment, and really create a personalized plan that aligns with your goals and values.
It sounds obvious, but sometimes we forget that our doctors are our partners in this journey, right?
Absolutely.
They're there to guide us,
Yeah.
answer our questions,
For sure.
help us make those tough decisions.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to advocate for yourself, too.
Yeah, that's important.
If a treatment isn't working, or if you're worried about potential side effects, speak up.
Your doctor needs your input to make the best choices for your care.
It's a two-way street, a partnership. Now, another theme that came up repeatedly throughout our deep dive was the importance of research and staying informed.
Oh, absolutely.
There's so much happening in the world of OA treatment. It can feel like a whirlwind.
It really can. That's why it's crucial to rely on trustworthy sources of information, like the Arthritis Foundation or the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons.
Right.
These organizations, they provide evidence-based information, cutting through the hype and helping you make informed decisions.
Yes. And don't underestimate the power of doing your own research, too. If your doctor recommends a specific treatment, take some time to learn about it, how it works, the potential benefits and risks, the latest research findings.
Knowledge truly is power.
Yeah.
The more you understand about your condition and the available treatments, the more empowered you'll feel to actively participate in your own care.
Okay, so we've talked about the importance of the doctor-patient relationship, the need to stay informed.
Absolutely.
And the fact that OA treatment is a journey, not a destination. As we wrap up this deep dive, what's one final empowering thought you want to leave our listeners with?
You know, what stands out to me is that while there's no cure for OA yet, there's so much hope on the horizon. The research happening right now is truly groundbreaking, and I believe we're on the verge of major breakthroughs in OA treatment and prevention.
That's a wonderful note to end on. It's inspiring to see researchers tackling this challenge from so many angles. high-tech solutions like gene therapy, but also that renewed focus on lifestyle factors like diet and exercise.
Exactly. And let's not forget those scientists working tirelessly to unravel the mysteries of OA, right?
Right.
The more we understand about that disease process, the closer we get to developing truly effective treatments and hopefully one day, a cure.
A huge thanks to you for guiding us through this complex world. And to you, dear listener, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into osteoarthritis pain and treatment. We hope you've gained valuable insights and feel empowered to take an active role in managing your health. Remember, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. It's about finding what works best for you. And that journey starts with knowledge, open communication, and a healthy dose of hope.
Beautifully said. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and take good care of yourselves.